Smoke rose like a dark serpent into the pale morning sky, and Oliver Trent's heart hammered as he sprinted toward the burning office building, not thinking of himself, only of the faint, desperate cries echoing from inside. He was a single father, a man who lived quietly, kept his head down, and did everything in his power to give his 8-year-old daughter a safe, steady life. But in that moment, with fire snapping at the windows and heat clawing at his skin, all he knew was that someone needed help and that he couldn't walk away. If you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heartbeat Tales. It helps more than you know. The flames groaned and crackled as Oliver fought his way inside, shielding his fa with his jacket and following the faint sound of coughing through the haze. On the floor of a half-collapsed conference room, barely conscious, sat a woman. In a torn beige blouse, her hair stray with soot and her breath ragged, he didn't know who she was. He didn't know that her name was Selina Ward, one of the youngest and most formidable CEOs in the city. All he knew was that she was alive and she needed him. He lifted her into his arms, the heat blistering his skin, and pushed through the corridor that was seconds from giving way. By the time they burst through the shattered glass doors and fell onto the pavement outside, Oliver's lungs burned as painfully as the fire behind him. As paramedics rushed forward, Selina opened her eyes, staring up at him with a mixture of shock and disbelief. But her first words weren't gratitude. They weren't even coherent thanks. Instead, with a trembling voice and eyes glossed with unshed tears, she whispered, "Why? Why did you come back for me?" No one ever does. Oliver didn't understand the weight behind those words. He didn't understand why a woman who seemed so composed, so powerful, would sound utterly broken. But he knew pain when he heard it. He simply told her, "Because no one deserves to die alone." She looked away then, her expression collapsing into something fragile, something she wasn't used to showing the world. Over the next few days, the two crossed paths again. Not because Oliver sought her out, but because Selina insisted on finding the man who had carried her through fire. She tracked him down to the small community center where he worked part-time and found him sitting with his daughter Arya, helping her with homework. When Selina walked in, still healing, still shaken, she saw a man who wasn't glorified by his heroism. He was just a father making sure his little girl understood fractions. Something about that sight softened her, something about it unraveled her. She learned that Oliver lived simply, scraping together as much he could to support Ariel after losing his wife 2 years earlier. She learned that he had no interest in fame, no desire for reward, and she realized with a strange ache forming in her chest that the world he lived in was warmer than the world she had built for herself. As days turned to weeks, Selina began showing up, not in grand gestures, not with corporate formality, but quietly. Sometimes she brought books for Arya. Sometimes she simply sat across from Oliver during lunch breaks, asking about his life, his thoughts, his fears. He found himself opening up in ways he hadn't expected. She told him about her own struggles, how she had grown up fighting for everything, how she had learned to be strong but had forgotten how to be soft. She admitted she was terrified that if she let people see her real self, they would walk away. Oliver didn't walk away. One sunny afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the tall windows of Oliver's living room, she sat across from him, shoulder bare, where her loose top had fallen slightly open, her eyes glistening as she tried to find words that didn't feel heavy. She told him she had spent years surrounded by people who wanted her for her power, her money, her reputation. No one had ever risked something real for her. No one had ever looked at her the way he did, not as a CEO, but as a person. Oliver didn't know how to respond at first. He wasn't used to someone like her, but he knew honesty, he knew sincerity. He told her that courage wasn't always found in fire, that sometimes it was found in moments like this. When someone allowed themselves to be vulnerable, Selina's eyes softened, and for the first time, she smiled. Not the confident corporate smile she was known for, but a small, genuine smile that reached all the way to her trembling voice. She whispered that maybe the fire hadn't taken everything. Maybe it had given her something she never knew she needed. Their connection deepened, not in dramatic declarations, but in gentle, steady steps. Selina found comfort in Oliver's world, and Oliver found color returning to his. Arya, who had always been shy around strangers, began to adore Selena, drawing pictures of the three of them together laughing, healing, rebuilding, and slowly, without either of them meaning to something beautiful, began to grow. If this story touched your heart, please support Heartbeat Tales by liking the video, sharing it with someone who needs hope, and subscribing for more emotional stories like this. Special request: